Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome for the first time. My name is Dr. Kate Boyd. I'm a pianist and I'm a professor at Butler University. This is my studio and I am practicing through the sonatas by Beethoven for violin and piano. This is in preparation for performances in January with the wonderful violinist Justine Cormack. Tonight I am really happy because I'm practicing the last movement of Beethoven's Sixth Sonata, and it has two things about it that I particularly love. It's in the key of A major, and A major is my favorite key, and it's a theme and variations, and I just love theme and variations movement. Here is how the theme goes. And then it continues. And the theme is so beautifully presented because it starts off in the violin and then it passes to the piano and then back to the violin and back to the piano. And so it is very much a theme that is presented by both instruments equally. The first variation consists of mostly piano with little interruptions by the violin. So it's kind of a discussion. This is how it goes. The way that it works is the left hand has single note, the right hand has the rest of the triplet. And it doesn't seem that hard hands separately, but hands together, it was tricky for me. So the way that I practiced it is this way. And I'm playing it and I'm trying to stay very close to the keys, like I've talked about in many of these daily videos, and I'm moving the second I play. Watch my hands, and I'm moving right to the next position. Then I'm practicing it 2 beats at a time. And what I'm doing in the pause, again, is getting set up, silently preparing. Then I'm ready to do 1 bar at a time. Then I do 2 bars at a time. This is how you can practice it too. If you have a little passage that's longer, try breaking it down into individual steps. The first step I did was a very specific step. I blocked it, hands together. And then after that gets comfortable, then I did 2 beats at a time. And I really practiced it that way. And if you make any errors, then stay with that method until it feels really secure. Because the idea is if you can play a little snippet quickly, then you can combine the little quick snippets. So if I play, and I can do that very comfortably, then it's only a matter of time until I can go. But the key is to prepare on the pauses between hand positions. Because if you're not preparing, it won't matter. You'll just sit there and then sit there and you're not getting ready. So then when you try to play it faster, it just isn't going to feel comfortable because you're not used to actually moving your hand into place. So that's takeaway number 1, is how to break down and practice those kinds of quick passages. The next variation is mostly violin with a little piano kind of counterpoint. This is the violin. It's very beautiful. It's it's kind of almost like yodeling or very country fiddle-like, and then the piano has little... So here I'm trying to play very accompanimentally, and I'm trying to play very smoothly. The third variation, it has a very quick left-hand part that goes underneath basically the violin and piano having a conversation. Because the piano goes, and then the violin goes, and then the piano goes, and then the violin goes like that. Now I'm going to put that with the left hand, because you will see what Beethoven did to me here. I'm going to do it slowly so you can really hear. Not very nice of Beethoven, but of course what he's trying to do is make it sound very virtuosic in the left hand, and that it does if you can play it. This is one of those spots you just have to keep coming back to. The part that's really tricky, and this is leading up to a takeaway for you, it's from 67 into 68. It is just very tricky. It doesn't conform to any real patterns. It goes up and back, and then up and back, and then down and back, and then it skips and does an arpeggio. Whenever there's a series of non-patterns, that can often, especially at a fast speed, lead to the fingers getting a little tangled. So not all moments in a passage like this are created equal. It's not hard to go. I mean, it is, but it's not as hard as going. That is just a little tricky. What I see very often in students is the tendency, and I'm tempted as well. I'm not just talking about my students. I'm also very tempted to always start at the beginning of the idea. If I mess up, I then go back to the beginning. But the thing is, the part that's hard is in the end of the third measure of that. And so by going back to the beginning every time, I'm doing too many repetitions of the part that I already can play and not enough repetitions of the part that is hard and tricky. When it comes to learning some things, it's really just a matter of how many repetitions you can get in. So what I'm doing is I'm going to isolate this, and I'm going to make sure that I have good fingering. That is my fingering. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to repeat that a whole bunch of times. And what I'm going for is consistency, and then I'm going for a feeling inside my hand where it kind of relaxes into that pattern. Also aware that I'm using my hand to play these 3 notes, and then these 3 notes, and then a little rotation there. So I'm not just using my fingers. You know me, I don't like to isolate fingers. I say that over and over, right? So I'm not going to play it with isolated fingers. Might sound to you like I'm just playing over and over the notes just using my fingers, but I'm actually very conscious that I'm using my hand. Like being a magpie. One little over and over. Okay. Then I'm going to go a little before. Already it feels a little bit easier. Now I'm going to try it in context. It's better. It's not super easy, but it's definitely better. happening is the trill. So that's what I got to do next. I did the left hand alone, but now I have to practice it with the trill. So I land. Like I land on that downbeat. This is all about trills, right? Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm isolating the hardest part and I'm really focusing in like a laser beam on it. This is a very productive way to practice and it's very time efficient. So that's the takeaway for you. When you have a long passage, identify the hardest thing about it. What is making it hard? What are you consistently tripping up on? Isolate that and really hone in on that. That is a hallmark of deliberate practice, which is a very effective way of practicing. The fifth variation is a minor variation. It's kind of a tradition in the classical era when you have a theme and variations, whether it's Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, even Schubert, to have one of them be in a minor key. So the left hand has a variant on the actual theme, and the violin has kind of an obligato line. It's just like Bach. This is counterpoint and it's imitative just like Bach. So I think that's super fascinating. What I wanted to share with you about this though is that there is this really cool moment in the end of this where it goes. He turns this little into a little motive that's repeated. This little repeated motive, it's kind of like a heartbeat underneath what the violin has. And the violin has these beautiful smooth lines that are derived from the theme. He kind of almost goes down a blind alley. He's just losing energy. Three P's, which Beethoven does not write very often. This is pianissimo that he wants it to be. He wants it to really turn into nothing, a fermata, and then from there the sixth variation comes. Okay, so I've got this 16th note stuff, and it's very busy, very motoric, and the violin has the thing I just had. Just to remind you what the theme sounded like, it's and now he's going. You can hear how it's really related. I'm going to show you the fast stuff that I have while the violin has that theme. You can hear my left hand is doing this. And then I have a little hemiola. We talked about that the other day. It sounds like it goes into a different meter. It sounds like it goes into 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. See how he turns that into a little hemiola there? The tricky thing about this material is it has to be very fast and it has to be very light. And it just has to be what the violin has. So the takeaway for you is that when you play fast, often in order to really play quickly, playing light is the answer. Because playing fast and heavy are kind of mutually exclusive. Because if I'm like, there's a limit to how fast I can play. If I try to play this really loud, it goes like. But if I play light, it's much easier to play fast. So when you have really fast passage work, think consciously about playing it more lightly. Today is Friday, the 16th, and things are really winding down here at Butler University. Today, a student played her entire recital program for her parents in the recital hall, and that was really cool. I was there, and we had a few other people listening, and she also zoomed into some people on Zoom. And then after she finished playing her program for her parents, we got the second piano out, and 8 of us played holiday music for 2 pianos, 8 hands, and that was really fun. That was a festive way to end the semester. If you're serious about playing the piano, you're going to also have questions about how to warm up at the beginning of your practice session. I made a whole video about warming up. I'm going to put it right there. Go ahead and click on that. That is where I share a complete guide and all of my tips and tricks for warming up at the piano. I'll see you tomorrow when I continue practicing Beethoven. Have a great day and happy practicing.